Introducing your host, David Daniels II. If you made it to my channel, you are in the right place to be, so make yourself feel at home. And I want to say, welcome to Free Game. Here we discuss a lot of topics on self-growth, so you're going to leave out of here with some positive vibes, alright? I want to say, make sure you like and subscribe if you like what you see. Appreciate it. Alright, so welcome back to Free Game. This is the relationship edition. Everybody got problems. This is your host, D. Lewis. And welcome to Free Game. So I want to talk about, give some insight, perspective, a little bit different of usually some of the things that I come across and see on the internet when it's regards to relationships. And people have their perspectives of what people should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. Now, I am not one person to try to judge and throw somebody under the bus, but I will be saying that, there are a lot of people who, I'll say they preach without experience. And, if you haven't had a relationship longer than 10 years, or had a marriage longer than 10 years, then it's kind of weird when you're talking about committing and preaching commitment. So with that being said, I think when people are trying to get into a relationship, hopefully the first best relationship you can truly reflect is having a relationship with God. And what that means is every person needs to humble themselves and know that you have to put someone in front of yourself if you want something to truly work. It's about the sacrifice that comes with having a strong relationship. A lot of times people forget that and people miss that. We can focus and talk about the providing, the protecting, and everything that you instill, especially if you have if you have sons, what you want to instill. Because the problem nowadays is you do have where people are not true leaders and they're leading people to a well that ain't got nothing in it. It's they're leading people to options that are not going to work. And it's two things that why people fail, right? Is I would say the leadership in the household might not be clear enough, or somebody might not be equally yoked, meaning you guys are not aligned spiritually, financially, physically, mentally. You guys are just not on the same page when it comes down to things. And not saying that you might have your differences and you have to agree, but at some point, if you can't find common ground or find some type of medium area to say, hey, we're going to set a goal, we're going to be fasting for this week. We're going to cut out pork in this household. We're going to cut out pop sugar, artificial sugars. We're going to set a goal to work out 30 minutes before you go to sleep and work out 30 minutes when you wake up. Sometimes you can try to meet somebody halfway, but when people are more aligned with each other, you have more things that can be prosperous when you are trying to build something together. So I think a lot of times people don't have the patience. And I think if you are planning on having a long, sustainable relationship, you need to have patience. You need to understand what sacrifice looks like. And from a lot of women, the saddest thing is they might be picking the wrong choices because they don't have a father figure. They don't know what a leader in a household actually looks like. They think that because if you can provide and protect and you can stand up straight and you can talk and you classify yourself as an adult, that you are a leader in the household, and you're not. So most of the times you have this mix-up of, I don't think it's a mix-up, it's a fact that sometimes women had to step up because the gender roles wasn't purposefully swapped It was just sometimes you have people who cannot step up into their position. That's why when people used to criticize, I know people used to criticize Kevin Samuels, but if you ever listen to not just some of his takes, but he criticized men to say, if you are going to be a man, you need to get yourself together before you plan on trying to put yourself out there, because I truly believe he was against hookup culture. He wasn't trying to big up a man to say, how can you go get a woman so you can sleep with that woman? But how can you get a woman so you can be the best thing for her in a marriage setting and for that household? And it comes with sacrifice. It comes with things you need to do for not just yourself, but for your children and for that woman that is at home. You know, have clarity of what you want. People don't have to be completely aligned. And like I said, everything doesn't have to be a dictatorship, but it makes a lot more sense when somebody is equally yoked and you're not fighting that person every single turn that you get, when it's a lot of things that you have common ground on. So, I always say, especially me personally, I believe that another problem is you have so many times where the supposed to be your better half should be praying for you and they prayed on you. Meaning that they were trying to get the worst out of you instead of trying to encourage to get the best out of you. So, a lot of times people walk around with a shield of protection because some form of trust was broken. And a lot of times, like I said, you have to move with action. It's not just based off of words. Sometimes it's based off of action. And you have to be straightforward of what you want in that relationship. There's a lot of people that we put on pedestals and they highlight. And I tell people, there's a lot of videos that I can clearly do where it'll show somebody who is probably falling on hard times, and they chose to go to the internet for solutions. And the saddest part is people are monetizing off of their pain and misery, their mistakes, their trial and error. And, we live in this society where everybody wants to be a part of something that's trending, and they want to go viral. They want to have these viral moments. And I'm like, look, the viral moments, they live forever on the internet. Once it's on the internet, you can't get it off the internet. So, perspective is important because your kids gonna have to see that. Your grandkids gonna have to see that. Your loved ones, the person that you choose to build a relationship with, will have to see that. And it's like, you gotta pay attention to what you put on the internet. This doesn't just go for women, but it's also go for men out there as well. Sometimes, those things that you build yourself on, unless you say, I want to be completely independent, I don't want to work for nobody else, you have to realize this. If you're working for a company, when you are outside, you are still representing that company. If you go on a platform and you start promoting all things that are, against what that company represents, and be surprised when that company fires you or they let you go. Look, if you want financial freedom, then start a business and grow it from the ground up and have completely everything that you need is self-sustaining. Meaning you don't need representation from the banks, you don't need lawyers, you don't need any society where they classify themselves and they want you to be a certain kind of way. People used to talk about, and there's a lot of people who fall victim to this mindset, financial freedom. I have to talk about that on a different topic, but look up from a man perspective who want to be represented on the internet. Look up financial freedom and financial liberation. A lot of people got jobs and they are a representation reflecting their current job. So you can't go to certain um you know platforms, and your company might have a strict policy on smoking. And then you go on a platform, you start smoking and toting it up. And a lot of times you might do that at work, and then you get mad because they use your platform against you. But you put it on the platform in the first place. You are representing that platform. So I encourage people to know and try to reflect what you truly want in life and try to do better. For women, you know, a lot of times y'all gotta take the time to do what is right for your children, and a lot of times the problem happens where you made a mistake, you bumped your head, you got a child with somebody who is clearly, is not suited to be the best father, and shit happens. Now, either you can show that man some grace, or you can just say you made a mistake, but at the end of the day, the responsibility is there because those children are there. And at that moment, what matters is the lives of those children and making sure they have the best life possible. It's about the sacrifice that you need to make as an individual. Sometimes, I've seen it plenty of times where some people may bump their head at a younger age and then they come back. But when you come back, you're coming back with experiences, you're coming back with baggage, you're coming back with, things that a lot of times men might not want to entertain, the men that you might be looking for. So, hopefully, this was some advice that you can utilize. Hopefully it was there to encourage. And the whole purpose is to build unions, to build covenants, to find people that can be married and realize the goal is to find soulmates and not soul ties. So that's the purpose of this platform. I hope that you like and subscribe. Make sure you check me out on Substack. Free Game 101 D. Lewis. I will be doing poetry on there. Check me out on YouTube. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. That being said, peace.